Audio.
All right.
Are we recording? Yes. Check. All right. So recording in one, two, three. Action.
What is good, everybody?
Yo.
So, this is the very first episode of hopefully many
Yes.
of our podcast. At the moment, we don't really have a name for it.
No.
So we're gonna have to ride with the nameless podcast at the moment. We are debating between two names, which we will be putting up on our Instagram sometime over the weekend, so you guys can vote.
It's
and help
funny.
us
Like
out.
I feel like you can come up with a name right there, like nameless podcast.
Nameless podcast. I'll see if it's not taken. So, first and foremost, let's apologize for any outside noise you guys may hear. As this is our first episode, we're still trying to work out the kinks as we go. We got a couple cameras set up. We got a little lighting set up for you guys on YouTube.
Cool.
And of course, they're doing some construction outside when we want to record. And ever so often, there's a very, very angry train
Very
that
angry
passes by.
train. Very angry.
It just
train.
yells at the top of its lungs whenever it wants to pass by. So,
Let's talk about that snow yesterday.
hold on.
Hold on.
We'll get there. So if you have any if you notice any cuts in the video or in the audio, that's exactly why, because we want to get around the outside now.
So mind you, I'm just noticing this table is quite flimsy.
It's a little wobbly too.
Quite
So,
flimsy.
So let's start off with introductions or reintroductions for anybody that may already know us.
That's where you put that sound bite. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
All right. So you want to set it off?
Sure. What's up, guys? My name is Parlay of Benatton Music, also known as just Rich or Richard if I'm in trouble. Basically, I'm one half of Benatton. Do a lot of video production and stuff like that. Both Jay and I are into editing and all those good parts. Artist all around, born in France. Always take pride in that. And yeah, raised in Jersey. So I'll hand it off to you.
Cool. And my name is Jay Suarez. For those that don't know, I'm the other half of Benetton. I do a lot of the background work, a lot of the social media, a lot of the Twitters, the Instagrams, and stuff like that. So 9 times out of 10, if you're talking to somebody on one of those, that's probably me. I was born in New York, raised over there, and in Jersey. So I also do a lot of the music as well. A lot of photography I'm learning as well, videography, editing, and stuff like that. So, the point of this podcast is to, just help you guys navigate through whatever industry that you're in. Or whatever career you're going for. So maybe you can learn from some of the mistakes that we've done, or maybe capitalize on some of the things that we were just about to be there, but not quite. And maybe you could put your own little spin to it. So, we're just here. Hopefully we can inspire you guys to, continue chasing your dreams. We get a couple messages from a couple of our friends and stuff like that saying that we inspire them and stuff like that. So we figured, why not put this down on audio
100%.
and video?
100%.
So,
yeah, because a lot of the nitty gritty behind the scenes, the failures kind of got us to where we needed to be. And even though, we're still not at the plateau of where we've seen ourselves, it's one of those situations where we can help you out with what gear you guys might need, how to go about certain situations, whether it's meetings, interacting with other artists, managers. Again, there's been so many interesting situations we've been through, so many failures, so many successes along the way that, Jay and I were like, let's be 100% transparent with it. This goes into like family relationships, everything that you guys might not know that we go through that you'll be like, oh my God, this is relatable. And I think that's super, super important nowadays because there are so many smoke and mirrors. And, everybody acts like everything is pristine. Like we wake up with zits on our faces. We wake up with like negatives in our accounts sometimes. And this is just like the honest truth. And like, you know, the more we help each other, it's like there's enough food for all of us to eat. So I think this is where, you know, it's gonna be a good opener.
Right. Yeah,
Opener.
yeah. That sounds great. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right.
But and I guess to piggyback off of that, somebody pointed out to me the other day that a lot of people on social media post only their successes,
True.
and not a lot of people post their failures.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way you can learn is from the failures, right?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
So, I guess we can move on forward. We also want to touch upon any little topics that happen throughout the week, any current event stuff that we feel is relatable to whatever it is that we're talking about at the moment. So, if you guys have any topics that you want us to discuss, shoot them our way. Either text if you have our numbers on the Instagram, our personal pages, on the Benatton music page. I guess we can move on.
Yeah.
I guess we can start off with a couple questions that I got from some people
Definitely.
on Instagram. So, Rich doesn't know any of these questions, so I'm just gonna ask him, and he's gonna answer them to the best of his abilities. So, question number one:
Yes.
which rappers inspired you the most?
Which rappers?
Or I guess artists, since we do more than just
Yeah.
just music. I guess who inspired you in general
Okay.
to do whatever it is that you do?
When I first came into the music world, it was like middle school. I remember like middle school or late elementary, and it was weird. It's like I would hear songs like on the radio. I think Jay-Z's "Can I Get a What?" I'll keep it, I'll keep it discreet for this. But Jay-Z, "Can I Get a What?" was on the radio, and that was featuring like Ja Rule, and I was hearing like all different stuff like Busta Rhymes. I think I was just introduced to the box as well. The box, yeah. Like my mom was like, I told her, I was like, one day I went home, I was like, yo, I was watching the box. She's like, what is that? Some porn channel? I'm like, no, it's music videos. It's like, it's at my best friend's house. It's all good.
I guess for the younger listeners,
Yeah,
explain what the box is.
All right, so the box, in the '90s, it was right there with MTV. It was the alternative where it continuously played music videos, and it was like you could call up, which is crazy. You could call up and request your favorite music video. So you would pay. It was connected to your cable, which you just pay and you can request your favorite music videos. So I remember that I was getting into music, and even the Spice Girls were huge during this time. I think they even came out with a movie and stuff like that. So I was open to all genres of music from the get. But I think somebody that really heavily influenced my music is, I can always remember this moment, is that I was sitting at my grandparents' house. They had cable. I put on the box, and I saw Pharrell Williams lap dance video with Vita and Lee Harvey. And Lee Harvey was just like, first of all, Pharrell, like they had like bikes and stuff like that. I remember like riding bikes was a big part of my childhood. So like in that music video, they were riding bikes. They had like similar clothes that were accessible to all of our friends at that time. And it just felt so relatable. And I could remember like, I was like, wow, if I created a sound in my head as just a person, I feel like it would be similar to this sound. It was a little bit of rock from like what I picked up from my suburban friends and the urban part. Like it was just that collective that really inspired me and made me feel cool. And I think as young adults, like anything that made us feel cool was super inspirational. And so like Lap Dance and Pharrell's video and Lee Harvey being a white guy, like I don't even think I thought like that, but it was just something that, again, it was so relatable across the board, where there was like a female act in it, there was a group in it, and there was also like a white rapper that he didn't come off like, he just was a cool entity. He had like a jean jacket, he was just rapping, and the bars were like, when you think of Harvey, think of a Harley, blue denim, spike wrists, and crime beat. Like I remember those lines, and it was just like so dope to me that I don't know, it was just something that stuck in my head. And I remember Busta Rhymes was super animated, and the beats that he got from people like Timberland and Swiss Beats at the time, that was just on a whole nother level of energy and like swag of Jay-Z. Like, I think you guys can probably hear it in our music that we kind of have all those little parts. So yeah, those are my influences at the time.
So rappers, name them real quick because he said a lot there.
Okay, so once again to recap, I would say rapper wise, Jay Z, Ja Rule, um, Outkast. I was really big on Outkast because they had that eclectic vibe at the time. So Fresh and So Clean was out and stuff like that, and I thought that was such a dope vibe. Um, I listened to like a lot of Rough Riders. DMX was out. I would listen to DMX before I went to school. Slippin' was like my number one track. I don't know. I just felt that track so much. It inspired me every day. And there's so many mentioned, but those right off the top of the dome come to mind.
Production wise, go.
Production wise, okay. So I'm definitely going to say Timberland, Pharrell. I'm definitely going to say Swiss Beats because I mean all those people were part of that era that just influenced me. Again, on like more of an old school note, being that I grew up in that like a household of like jazz, classical, and like R&B. My mom again, Sade. I would say her group as producers, like they just have that sound that it takes you to. I don't even know if it takes you a moment in the past. It just puts you in such a nostalgic area that, like, to me, as you know, Sade is like my favorite artist. Like
fangirl
above all those artists that really like I listen to all the time, but like Sade is there where it's always a go-to. It's my calming music. It's my reflective music. It's my vibe music when I'm editing. And last but not least, I would say Quincy Jones. Because when you listen to Michael Jackson's music, you can be 3 years old and you find yourself dancing around the kitchen till now. It doesn't matter who you are. If you never come across Michael Jackson for whatever reason in this world, I think Quincy Jones as a conductor, as someone who puts together production, we've all learned from him. He's probably learned from his influences, but anybody up to this point that has studied pop or any type of genre of music, Quincy Jones is there, and man, you know what it is.
Yeah. There's a documentary on Netflix about it, right?
I watched it. Very inspiring.
I haven't watched it yet.
You gotta watch it.
All right. Let's see what else we got on here. We took care of that one. What are your goals? Your ultimate goals, I guess. What's the overall goal?
Ultimate goal? I guess as an artist or group, I want to see us as influencers in the most positive aspect. I would love to do what, like I said, some of these artists did for myself personally and us just as creatives. Like they gave us the encouragement to follow the same path. I feel like when it comes to fashion, I want to influence just based off my personal aesthetic and vibes. What I like to, how I like to dress. I hope that it inspires somebody else. I feel that, just I always use these words, and you know that I use words: dope, vibe, aesthetic. Like these are my words because this is what I'm based around, like creativity of just like I hope we can create a sound that's maybe as nostalgic or put somebody in a zone where they're remembering a specific time of their life when they listen to our music. And I think that the more we stay true to ourselves, the more that originality speaks, to our listeners or visually whatever we're coming out with. Like I love that we don't rush anything, and I feel like just like that, not rushing anything, it becomes timeless. And I think that's our goal. Whatever we approach, whatever intrigues us as artists, because I know like it could be cooking. Like me and Jay could end up with a cooking show in the future. Whatever the case may be, I think everything that we take on, we do it wholeheartedly. We do it because it really does interest us, and it's that passion. Wow, there's an angry train by
Here
the
comes
way.
the angry train.
So no, but that's what I want to do. As I want us to be influencers in the correct sense of hopefully influencing people in a positive manner to chase their dreams, continue to do what they do, even if they love being a math teacher. Like do that and do it to your best ability because you are, rounding someone. You're creating a child's knowledge to better, whatever they could be an architect and they're gonna need that. So like we are all helping each other at the end of the day.
Cool, cool. Now, I guess to answer the questions myself,
Oh, I had some questions for you, but you
let
can
me answer my
There you
questions.
go. You can go.
So the inspirations on my end, when I was younger, obviously growing up in a Latin household, you hear a lot of Saturday cleaning music. We
Yes.
like to say you'd wake up to a bunch of noise, a broom in your face, and somebody telling you to get up and clean. A lot of Julio Iglesias. If you don't know, that's Enrique's dad.
Yeah, my grandma
So,
had a crush on him. I
yeah.
found that out recently.
Freaking Julio, man. He used to wake me up. Mark Anthony, obviously, the Selenas. Who else? Just those popular Latin artists that were popular about 15, 20 years ago. And then I gravitated towards English music because my dad would like, at least from what he told me, he would DJ like little parties.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Jay's dad is an amazing DJ.
That's what he said. I mean, I don't know how good or bad he was, but he has a good taste in music. So
definitely does.
my first thoughts, my first initial memory of English music would be the Bee Gees.
Okay.
Listen to those high pitched singers.
That's dope.
The Bee Gees, a lot of Lionel Richie.
Nice.
And Sade too. I remember one in particular, the self-titled album, the Sade album.
Okay.
It was just her on the cover, the gray, black and white.
Oh, that's is that a Lovers Rock?
Might have been that one. But I just remember that CD in particular because we had like a collection of CDs. And Bob Marley. So those are the first few English music I listened to. So my dad was real big on not hearing any curses back in the day. So I used to listen to rap music on the low.
Gotcha.
When either he was at work or I would play it like really low in my bedroom while I'm playing video games or something.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
So I would listen to a lot of DMX, obviously, Busta Rhymes, Ludacris, Ja Rule, of course. We didn't love Ja Rule back then. Who else? And then, I slowly gravitated towards more of the other kinds of music the older I got. Because when I was living in New York, it was kind of a bubble. All you really listened to was Spanish music or rap music. Because everything else was considered white music. So when Eminem came around, I guess he was that smooth transition between rap and everything else. He was a white guy rapping and stuff like that. Did a lot of rock influences in it. So, and then Fred Durst came around with Limp Bizkit. So that made me.
I was on Fred Durst before Eminem. Eminem didn't catch me the way he caught everybody else. Like I don't know what it was. I didn't, and it was nothing because like everybody after a while, like when you're growing up white and you love hip hop music and you want to be an artist, it's like
Eminem.
It's Eminem. But like for some reason, I guess that intensity, like the Fred Durst, like I caught on to that first, and then it was Eminem. Yeah. It's like later on.
That's interesting. Yeah. So Fred Durst was that first guy that I was just like, he would rap, right? A lot of heavy rock influences. And then that made me jump into the rock world, started listening to Korn. Korn was popular back then. Wow. Korn with a K. Yes. Who else?
Disturbed was part of that era.
Disturbed, remember Prodigy?
Oh my God.
It's like that. Industrial
Prodigy, yes.
Industrial rock, techno type music.
So you're touching upon a lot of things that I know, like I said, in between, I'd probably listen to as well. And when you're saying groups like Prodigy and stuff like that, that influence was so heavy. like Smack My Bitch Up and
Fire starter.
Fire
Fire starter was the
Starter.
first one because I saw the
Yeah,
music video and I was like, "What the hell is
I
this?"
know.
So, yeah, and then the older I got, the more electronic dance music came popular, and that's usually, I mean, a couple years ago, that's what I was really listening to.
Nice.
As rap kind of moved towards the mumble rap phase, what we
True.
like to call. So it's tough to hold on to the artists that you love because they kind of just fade into the background, or they barely put out any music, or they venture to off to other things.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another reason why we started this podcast, is to kind of just evolve ourselves, without selling out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those were pretty much my heavy influences as far as music is concerned.
Gotcha.
Um, and then going back to the hip hop thing, growing up there was a lot of black rappers and white rappers when Eminem and Fred Durst came out, and then when I saw the Beatnuts, which were two Hispanic dudes from New York, I was like, oh snap, we could do this too.
Exactly.
So I started leaning towards them, and then the Fat Joes and the Big Puns came around,
The whole Terror Squad.
Terror Squad, everybody, and I was like, okay, we could do this too.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I've been in love with words, I've been in love with beats and all that stuff. So
I have actually one question, because you know how you said like your dad was almost kind of like weary of you coming across songs with cursing and stuff like that. You felt like you had to keep it to yourself on a personal level. It like intrigued you. You didn't feel it was bad for you, but you felt like if you were found listening to it, you might get in trouble. So I said, one of my questions for you was, how has chasing your dreams in music and any other field affected your relationships with family and within your personal life?
Touchy subject. Here we go. Okay, so for a while, nobody in my family really knew I was doing music. I would say maybe like the first 5-6 years.
Okay,
we were doing this. They weren't very supportive because they're more of the get your education, become a doctor, become a lawyer. Traditional 9 to 5, make sure you make money and all that stuff. I went to school and busted my ass so that you can, do music and stuff like that, which you're never going to go anywhere. This the stereotypical, I guess, immigrant parent.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if the American parent does the same thing, but
hey, remember, my dad is French and my mom is American, but she raised me like a European mom.
So it isolated me a lot. Yeah. I didn't speak to anybody really about music except for you obviously, and anybody else that was in our inner circle at the time. Gotcha. So they would come out to a couple shows. Obviously, they wouldn't understand. They would tell me, if you're doing music, might as well do Spanish music. But I'm like, that's not really what we do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it caused a lot of tension between us. I mean, now it's kind of like the unspoken thing. Yeah. My parents and I don't really talk much outside of when they want a favor done. Gotcha. So I don't know if that had a lot to do with it, but it caused a lot of tension in the home. Kind of that unspoken, like, if he doesn't make it, I'm gonna say I told you so type of thing. Damn. So that's the vibes.
It's always hard because it's like, one, you feel almost it's like you're on one side, I guess you can feel motivated by it, but on the other side, you almost feel that bitterness, and it's tough. It's like depending on who you are, it's like you choose that pill.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how tough you are, it gets very discouraging when it comes to you wanting to, because everybody wants to make their parents proud, right? Yeah. They've sacrificed so much, and for you to not make them proud, it's kind of like a failure on your end, right? Yeah. Or at least it feels that way. But then on the other side, it's like it causes a lot of resentment.
I feel like most parents on the reflective end, they're always fearful because I guess they see a lot of themselves in you, and even though you are your own entity at the end of the day, even though you are made of your mother, made of your father, I feel like, parents are always like, they're scared of like, oh my God, he's got a little bit of me in him. So like, even when it comes to, drinking, when growing up, they're like, oh my God, I don't want you to drink because they know they've been there where they might have went overboard and they know that you have that within you that can easily happen. So I feel like it's the same thing where maybe they weren't encouraged to live out their dreams or they had that plateau of like, oh my God, this is where it ended. This is where I quit. They feel that fear for you where this is where you're going to surpass that and you can show that you could be successful in chasing your dreams. So it's like,
yeah,
because it's tough. It's super tough.
Yeah. I think it's also a combination of them, have, at least on my end, they had me at a young age, and they kind of had to, I guess, if they had any dreams or aspirations, kind of drop all that to parent this kid. I mean, I can't say that I was planned or anything.
I have the same argument. I would say more with my mother and my stepfather, where it's like, you guys planned this life out. You decided to have a child. You decided when you had that child that you had to get different jobs. You had to get jobs that supported your new lifestyle. So for us, we're always saying like, we see our friends. People are having kids. People are getting married. People buying their first homes. That's a different luxury that people decided to take versus us, where it's like we're still dealing with this because this is what makes us happy. So like a lot of the time, we can't invest in that right away. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have to put that on hold because so many things come first. So it's a different balance in our life. So almost becomes like sometimes like over time, I feel like outside of even family relationship with friends, like you get to this point where it's like that relatability isn't there anymore. It's like, so what are you doing? And you're just like, well, I bought my first house. And you're like, that's awesome. And they're like, what are you up to? And you're just like, shooting music videos. It's a completely different world. And I think each side has a little bit of admiration where they're like, damn, I wish I could be doing that. Or you're like, I wish I could be doing that.
I know exactly.
So there's that appreciation, but depending on who you're dealing with, it could be a hatred, it could be an envy, it could be, again, the positives, it could be an appreciation, it could be like, man, I'm cheering you guys on because you decided to stick to this, So I think that's a crazy playing field.
I got you. Now, this is a question that I found very interesting. Somebody asked me on Instagram, are you willing to branch out onto a completely different genre of music? If so, which one?
Oh, wow. I think if I did branch off into another genre, it would be something probably similar to Prodigy, 9 Inch Nails, or I might do rock. I might do that, like industrial sound, or I might do something like Sade, R&B, jazz. Like I feel like maybe it could just be instrumentally jazz music because to me that's super calming. And that's who I am at the end of the day. I think once we became the Benatton that people know today, once we kind of left that party scene behind and we started making more conscious and I don't know how to emo rap music or just true to life music.
I like calling it relatable rap music.
Relatable rap, yeah. Like I feel like that was more who we are at the end of the day. Like I think just who we are in general, like as artists, as Aquarian, as friends, like we're like those emotional guys sometimes. Like we kind of wear our feelings on our sleeves. And like once we were able to create that music, it was more true to us, and I think people saw it. So I think outside of this, like I said, I can have like a darker side, I can have a very smooth side. So I feel like that's why I would go to either industrial music, which is super hype because I like to turn up when I like to turn up, and I also like this very chill, like drinking chamomile, relaxing in a cozy environment type of vibe. So that's just they're like opposites. They're opposites. There's no middle, but that's what that's how I feel in my personality.
Okay, cool. So if I were to branch out to different kinds of music, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I do like electronic dance music. So
Mm.
maybe something along the lines of like the DJ Snakes, Love Diplo and
Mm.
his worldwide sound with Major Lazer and stuff like that. So maybe
So,
something along those lines because I love their music. I love how versatile they are.
mm.
In a sense where they can do all these worldwide sounds and also incorporate somebody that can't sing like myself
Okay.
and jump on and do some vocals or maybe some writing and stuff like
I
that.
mean,
So
you've done your thing. You've kept the
I've
melody. You've
tried.
kept
I've
the melody.
tried. I
Kept the
mean, I'm
melody.
no Drake or anything, but all right. Random question:
Yes.
what kind of hair products do you use?
No, interesting. Okay. I'm kind of like I'm always been on a holistic and natural way of life ever since I've been small. That's like how my mom raised me. So I always say less is more. I kind of just I use a lot of what is it called? I think it's called like shea butters. Not shea butter. What is it called? Shea moisture. It's
Mm.
called shea moisture. So it's like a really good natural brand. Um, I've tried like a bunch of them since I have curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think one recently is like this like coconut milk one that I've used, and I kind of like infuse it with the hair growth oil since I've been growing my hair out. So again, it's like it's usually found in the all natural section of like Whole Foods, or if you're at a Harmon's. Um, it's kind of like uh, I don't know. They just it's usually like an all natural type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it works out for me. And I just comb my hair out. Use in like this keep in conditioner
Mm-hmm.
outside of the shower. So I always it's like a leave in conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds nasty to some people, but I usually like I wash my hair with water, but I'll shampoo it like once to twice a week, twice at the most, because it's like I have curly hair,
Mm-hmm.
so it gets super dry. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
curl life.
Yep.
So
Um, mine is a little simpler. I don't put a lot of stuff in my hair. I just use any kind of shampoo really.
mhm.
Big Head and Shoulders person because if it isn't broke, don't fix it type of
Exactly.
thing. It does me well. So, and then as my hair is growing longer and longer, I find it a lot more difficult to tame.
Mm-hmm.
So I use this styling cream that I found at Target that
No,
kind of just like enhances the curls, but also holds it in place.
no.
Because one thing that I hate about my hair is that it's not like straight hair,
Yeah, yeah.
like your brother's hair. Like
My
if he
brother's
were
hair is
to
super straight. He looks like Hanson when he
yeah,
grows it out.
so exactly. So if he were to like roll down the car windows and
Yeah,
the wind blows in his hair would
go
go
right back.
right back into place.
Steve Aoki.
Me on the me on the other hand, if I put the window down and I have nothing in my hair, especially if I'm just hopping out the shower, I would look like
Yeah,
Marge Simpson.
that's the thing. It's like I always, you know, I think I asked my brother last time, or like I asked my mom, I was like, "Do I look like George Washington?" Because I felt like sometimes it gets flat on top and then it gets
I see what
poofy
you're
on the
saying.
sides, and I'm just like,
So
"What
it's
is
kind of
this?"
like a mullet.
Yeah, it's like some mullet thing, and I'm just like, "Nah, like I'm not about that." You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, like I know both you and I, we, thank God, like we have like we haven't like balded or anything like that, but we both have the salt and pepper thing going
Right.
on. So like sometimes people think that we dyed our hair and
Mhm.
stuff. I'm like, that's way too much work. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
To keep up with it, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like,
nobody thinks I dye my hair.
yeah, but it's
You
still
maybe because
it's
yours looks like white streaks in your
the
hair,
white
or like
streak.
blonde streaks.
Yeah, but
Mine is
still,
just like white hairs. They
but it
tell
works
me
for you.
they
It works
tell
for
me they tell me to dye my hair
you.
instead of do I dye my hair.
Do you dye, bro?
What do you guys do when you're not making great music?
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm not asking that question. I know we make great music, but this is a question from somebody on Instagram.
Okay. I mean, personally, you and I, like, we're always. Jay's a foodie.
Mhm.
I'm a foodie. It's just who we are.
That's actually what I think inspired. Sorry to cut you off, but what inspired
Yeah.
this podcast? It's like we have so many conversations at any food spot.
Yeah.
Mostly a diner. For some reason, whenever we go to a diner, we're either like usually upset about something or discouraged
It's
or
like a Jersey thing. You
right.
know what I'm
So
saying?
and diners are always open. So if
Yeah.
we're upset at like 2 o'clock in the morning, we can head over to the diner, grab
Yeah.
something to eat, and just vent to each other.
Yeah.
So yeah. So continue.
Diners.
My bad.
Yep. No, no, it's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, diners. I know Jay and I both like we love Caribbean food. That's like one of the top on my list. We do Indian food. Anything that's like really super flavorful, I would say like we end up trying out. That's what we love to do. Outside of that, I know Jay loves movies. Me, I don't know. I get so engulfed, and I found like people think I'm probably just constantly working, but I find so much pleasure in studying uh, videography, photography, and like music. I'm always trying to see how to expand. Like I became a big gearhead. Like whether it's audio, us filming on these cameras, like I love this stuff. Like
Mhm.
I'm like I drive him insane with it. I'm always like, yo, we gotta get this. He's like, do we really need that? And I'm like, just watch and see, you know what I'm saying? So like whether it's this light that's on us, like, we'll show you guys you know, in future,
Mhm.
you know, podcasts, like what we use and stuff like that. But it gets expensive. That's
Mhm.
the craziest part about this. Like
Mhm.
people see us, are like, oh, you're always working, you're hustling. And like I'm like, yeah, I get it, but like even though the client might be paying us really nice amounts of money to get done for whatever we're job we're taking on, it goes back into the company.
Mhm.
It goes back to personal bills, and it goes back to investment of all this gear. And this is why we're able to expand and able to do what we do. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And it's like people don't realize it's like this light that's lighting us is $1,200. This little audio piece plus the microphone right here, again, that's like another $800.
Mhm.
Laptop, $3,000. Both cameras together, over $4,000. Tripods, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like that's just the basis. We're not even getting into all the other things we have. So it's like it gets so expensive, and like you have to make these investments if you want to be on top, because we all know, as much as trends in music, there's trends in technology. And if you don't have the look, if you're shooting a wedding or doing a music video, if you don't have that look, nobody's paying you.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And if they are, it's based off something far different than from your quality and your vision.
Right.
So
Right. So we say that not to discourage anybody that's kind of like starting off, that all this stuff is very expensive, and but you got to start somewhere,
hmm
and to get that quality that's going to grab everybody's attention, you're going to have to cough up some cash,
yeah.
whether it is starting up a credit card and play it off slowly,
hmm
getting piece by piece, because this is like years of like upgrading equipment that we have
We've
over
been
here and
doing
stuff
this
like that. So
since 2006.
yeah.
So I
So.
remember like when I ask a lot of people, I'm like, they ask me like, "What are you shooting on? Like, what gear do you have?" And I'm like, "I have this and that."
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, I have a T2i." And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, "That's cute.
That's a good start.
It's a good start." You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where, like, again, never get discouraged. Like that's what I started out on.
Mhm.
And you remember like I was like, "This is the best camera in the world." And
Mhm.
then like as you get deeper and deeper in this stuff, you're gonna find out there's so many flaws to even the best cameras, and like
Mhm.
the vice versa. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. So like you mentioned, I am a big movie person. 'Cause that's kind of like my escape. Whenever I have time for myself, I like watching movies. Obviously, finding new music, I find pleasure in doing that, especially when I find a really dope artist that I can like burn a hole through, in a
hmm
sense where I'm like looping the song over and over and over again. I love that. And then the same thing that you do. I love going on YouTube, watching videos about tutorials, getting more and more into the videography and the photography end.
hmm
I watch a lot of, you know, do it yourself stuff, how to do this, how to do that, basically kind of expanding my knowledge on that end.
hmm
And also, I go to the gym whenever I
Mm.
can. That's kind of my alone time because whenever I watch movies, I kind of either go with some friends or with somebody else or stuff like that. But the gym, I think, is like the only time I actually have my alone time.
Yeah.
I put my headphones in, and for like an hour, hour and a half, it's just me and the music or whatever.
I need
So
to get more persistent in the gym because I realize like I used to be so active, especially out of high school, and that's one of those situations like when you start editing. I mean, like the most of the time you're on site, we work 12 to 13 hour weddings, and you're not sitting down, you're not eating. Like that's a workout,
man.
but at the like same time, you're at your desk a lot of the time. You're editing. We're sitting down. We're tired and stuff like that. So. I have one last question for you if you're down. Mine are always the dark questions.
Yeah. The other question is good though because it's like it gives you an in-depth look of the back stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We like posting good stuff on our Instagram and stuff like that, and we're gonna start posting more of the our vulnerability on there, our transparency on there. But it's good to hear these questions because people don't see the personal stuff in the back ends and
exactly.
the not so good stuff about doing stuff like this.
Humility is like if you carry a certain type of humility, it's good because then it's like humility. You don't know all the answers. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that to expand your knowledge. So. Right. I think
hit me, man. Hit me.
Yeah, man, here we go. In all honesty, what's a realistic situation where you would quit creating music or anything you love in general? Realistically, what would come into your life where you're like,
oh,
listen,
man,
I can't do this anymore?
I don't think anything. Because if anything would have, it would have a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we've been through so many situations where it's like, damn, I don't feel like doing this shit anymore. It's so fucking discouraging. Yeah. Excuse my language, but let me see. To be completely honest, it sounds super cliche, but I don't show up Siri. but it sounds super cliche, but I don't think anything would. Because I feel like that's the only thing that keeps me sane. Gotcha. And keeps me. It's like my outlet. It's my self-care. It's my ears when nobody else wants to hear me out. You know what I mean? So it's like,
say that one more time.
It's my ears when nobody else wants to hear me out.
That's crazy.
Or when another person is kind of just, you can tell when somebody's just kind of like, ugh. When you're trying to vent to somebody and they're kind of just like, it's either number one, they can't relate, or two, they just don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I got you.
And I find myself in a situation where I vent just to get it out.
Okay.
Unless I'm talking to you, obviously, because we're going through the same stuff typically. Yeah. And, I find myself in a situation where it's like I vent just to vent.
Gotcha.
But I get no feedback.
Gotcha.
But sometimes I don't really look for the feedback. I just want somebody to listen to me. But to answer the question, I guess there is nothing that will realistically make me stop doing anything.
Solid, man. He's solid.
Because it's like, the music is the number one love, obviously. But sometimes you feel uninspired to do music, right? Yeah. Because it gets like I said, it gets discouraging. Yeah. It gets frustrating a lot of times.
There's so many things that go into play with us because one, I mean, we live in a world where it's so much more accepting to so many things, but there's still those stigmas where it's like, if you didn't start music at 18 and you were like Justin Timberlake or like Mickey Mouse Club and you had all that time to build up in your career, like you're 30, you shouldn't even contemplate music, go get a desk job. Right. And these things are like things people will tell you, the things you will hear, the things you will discourage you, you know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody wants like this like backstory to like you being an artist, you being a professional, and it's like, God forbid you're 32, like nobody wants you or this or that. But I feel like there's so much room. Like when you're Jay-Z, sure, you were Jay-Z, you got on when you were even a little late for him. Like I feel it was 28, 29.
29-ish, I think.
And now he's like 40, 42, something around that. Again, it's the spirit that you live. Like when I see Mick Jagger and stuff, like they're still going. Like those guys would come out with like IVs and they're like, like rocking out. If you do what you love, I think I've watched a couple Netflix series when I even see these older ladies that live in New York. It was like a fashion documentary.
Yeah.
And they're like 98, pushing 98, or they're like mid 70s, and they're so elegant in the way that they present themselves. And then you had like Vogue find them and they did a write up about it. You know, we have people that we know, even Johnny from Finish Line. You know, he got a Helmet Lang ad. I know he's like in his 50s. And then he also got a Vogue write up. So again, it's one of those things you never know when something's going to hit or when it's going to happen. But this is why I said, if you're true to yourself, I feel like those things are always going to come your way. You have to do what you love because that energy is so attractive. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what brought a lot of the great people into our lives. There's also been a lot of bad ones, but there's that attraction initially. So whoever coming our way is because they felt that great energy, and you know you have to keep going. There's in the sense for yourself, for your family, for your future, because not everybody has foresight. And this is one thing that's just as important as talent is foresight. Because if you can have these premonitions and foresight of you know where you're going to be, it doesn't matter to anything else. And I think anybody that's in your life, whether it's your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your family, your extended family and friends, if they support you, they support you, and they know that you know what's up. You know, we know where we're going. We know what's in our future. We've seen it in the crystal ball, and it's like, boom, we keep going. You know what I'm saying? There's a room for everybody. There's always enough for everybody to eat. And even if you're not seen in the tabloids and this and that, there's so many people behind the scenes making those things happen that you might be surprised. They're even making more money than the celebrity. So, like, again, there's so many opportunities. Just continue to stay grounded, stay focused to anybody who's watching. And I love that nothing will make you quit.
Yeah, man. And I guess to feed off of that as well, that's kind of the other reasons why we got into all the other things outside of music, like the photography, videography, the clothing brand, shameless plug.
Boom.
You know, one is we both love fashion in our own ways, but we love fashion. And though this isn't exactly where we want it, this is a good start. You know what I mean? And it also fun, you know, it gives us a little bit of money here and there from the people that buy certain things to reinvest in our gear or 100%. Reinvest in studio time or reinvest in some of this stuff. So, and then when it comes to the photography and videography, we love cutting out the middleman wherever we go.
Yes.
Because we love having creative control, and overall, over everything, we love seeing our vision exactly how we want it.
Yeah.
Right. So we love taking our own photos, even though it gets kind of challenging at times. Because either I'm taking photos of him, he's taking photos of me. And then videography, it's tough sometimes to find certain people that are down for the cause. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you're what I call balling on a budget, it's tough to find certain people that would, you know, extend a helping hand.
Yeah.
Obviously, we would love to pay everybody that we're with that would be willing to help us. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. You know what I mean? So it's like one hand washes the other type of thing. And if, you know, a lot of people aren't down for that, which I understand.
So you make more investments over time for your own selves. So like, again, this is where you're gonna need more cameras. You're gonna need all this, but whatever you would have paid somebody to get your job done, now you constantly have that product on your hand to continuously create. So it's whatever path you choose. Like, we're not downing anybody that might pay a videographer because people have vision, and like not everybody can do that. Like we were lucky enough to delve into those parts of us where we can create. We found out we were pretty good at it. So yeah, it's like however you go about creating, just, you know, whatever you feel is right for you.
And that's where the homework comes into play, right? So it's like you either have it or you don't. But if you have it and you have a little something, that's when doing research or practicing or, you know, just endless hours of watching other people on YouTube teaching you certain things where you can possibly utilize
100%.
whenever you're doing your own thing. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, you know, and then the videography and the photography obviously funds, again, funds what we want to do. We have 100% complete control over what we want to do. Obviously within our means, because sometimes we run into obstacles where we have to figure things out, right? So, you know, we'll get into it in another video, but when it comes to like the Finish Line music video, right? We had a vision, and thankfully, you know, the stars aligned for us for once. They finally aligned for us, and everything went down as exactly how we planned it. And we were able to come out with a product that we were all happy with. And I think a lot of other people that were watching it were happy as well, because we got a lot of positive feedback on it.
Exactly.
So, you know,
we'll get into the details of all the good and bad that happened that day.
Yeah.
So like,
that'll be another video. Maybe the next podcast we'll describe, you know, what we went through to get that video done.
Yeah.
And also when we did Jaded as well, you know, we always have like these big ideas, and sometimes, well, most times they don't come out as we planned. So when it came to that video, you know, again, we'll get into details in another video, but, you know, we were able to shoot each other, you know. In his scenes, I shot him. In my scenes, he shot me.
100. And
we kind of cut it up in where it looked like somebody else was shooting our video. So, but we'll get into details in another video. But, you know, that's pretty much everything. There's one more question.
Gotcha.
That I think we can cover before we wrap this up.
As Jay finds that question, this is our first podcast. It's kind of like it's real rough around the edges, but at the same time, we just want to delve into it. So, if you guys go to our Instagram, we're actually going to have a poll to see which name you guys like for this podcast. Also, you know, you guys can write to us what you want to hear more of. You can send more questions. Whatever you guys want to hear from us, that's the dope part. We're going to expand this to, we're going to have people call in. We're going to share music that we're listening to. It's going to be everything that's involved in our lives, basically. And free and open for you guys to take what you want from it. Right. So again, this is on our YouTube too, so subscribe. That's always important. Super
like,
important.
Subscribe, and comment.
Yes.
You know, that's what the youngsters are doing these days, so we're trying to get in that, you know. There's actually two questions.
Okay.
First question, and let's try to make this one quick because we could probably take all day answering this. But
plus, we got the clock.
Could you give advice to someone who wants to start their own music career?
Yes. Okay. One is, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Don't. It's kind of like the pool thing. Like, yeah, sure, you want to like warm up on each step before you dive in, but one of those things, if you're gonna do music, don't leave any room for you to contemplate why you should or shouldn't. Just do it. The best part about music is experimenting. So the more you experiment, the better. If you're working a 9 to 5, set aside $20 from your check each week. Start out, you know, with a good preamp. Get a microphone. Get yourself a good DAW. A DAW is basically something like you record into. So whether that's Pro Tools or Logic, like those things could get expensive. Go about it the way you can. You know, like there's also pirated stuff out there. So, you know, we all start off sometimes with a cracked version just to try it out. And I mean, that's the truth. That's the honesty. A lot of companies don't want to hear that. You know, when you do come across the money, support these companies. You know what I'm saying? Like, they helped you in the beginning, help them back. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's, just delve into it, experiment, get the gear that intrigues you, learn from somebody else that might be doing it. We live in a world of social media. You can reach out to people and ask them questions. And a lot of the time, people love to share information, depending on who they are. But a lot of time, they love to share it. Ask us. If that person that asked that question has any questions, I will tell you gear, what to look for from top to bottom, and we can grab coffee over. I don't care.
Hmm.
But yeah, just delve into it, experiment, love what you do, and you'll see from there. You'll
Hmm.
see the fruits of your labor.
Right. And most importantly, do it because you love to do it.
Boom.
Don't do it for any money. Don't do it for validation. Don't do it for anything but yourself.
Exactly.
And also make sure you surround yourself with this angry train.
Yes. Angry train makes us realize
Angry train, man.
how nice the quiet is.
Yeah, man, it makes you appreciate like the little things. Like there's so many songs that we've recorded that we would have like an awesome take. It was like you've taken so many tries at this, maybe 20 takes, and you're like, damn, I finally got it. And then when you go back to it, either Rich or I would be the one on the boards and would be like, nah, the angry train just passed by.
See, it's one of those things, where when you live next to a train, it's like your property value, everything is like low. Mm-hmm. So you already have that stigma. Like I've been on phone calls with clients where I forget there's an angry train. And they're asking me like, "Yo, is that a train?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
They're like, "How close are you to it?" I'm like, "Very close."
Very. It's like a few blocks away, but
so that could be embarrassing at times.
It's so loud that it just like, but anyway, I digress.
3 minutes on the clock.
But yeah, what I was trying to say is surround yourself with like-minded people and people that are honest.
Boom.
Because you don't want a yes man around you. Because if your stuff is trash, you gotta have somebody there to tell you. Whether they want to sugarcoat it or not, that's on you or on them, obviously. But I found it very important that if I can improve on something, that I will be held accountable for it, right?
Yeah.
So if my verse is weak, or that line was trash, or that flow is kind of I can count on Rich to tell me you could do better, or he'll flat out say I didn't like it.
Yep.
So
be P Diddy with your friend.
Yeah,
like take 20 takes because you're never like
And it's not like he means it in a malicious way, obviously, or he's trying to make himself look better. It's more of a because it's very competitive between us, right? We both always want to have the best verse on the song, right? But it's always friendly competition, right? So and it's more of a trying to elevate you.
Yeah. It's like working out with a good friend. You know, like you're not like, yo, I'm more big and muscular than you are. Like you should be pushing this. It's more like when they are pushing what they can hold at that moment in time, you're making sure they're getting through the reps.
Right.
And that's basically what it comes down to.
So he spots me, I spot him.
Boom.
Right. So, that's very important. And also branding. Make sure you brand. Social media is big these days, so make sure you're on all platforms and, just test out certain things because we're still trying to figure it out.
Our motto is like keep going until your brand or logo is like the Yankee cap, stuff like that. Or anybody who doesn't like Yankees, just like the Nike symbol, like make sure your brand gets to that point. Everybody's rocking it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. So that wraps it up. So I had a lot of fun.
I did cool as well.
So let's keep it going. Hopefully we get the support that we need to keep on going. But before we go, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question if you want us to answer it. Whether you're an aspiring artist or photographer, videographer, ask us any questions that we may be able to answer in future podcasts or future episodes. And also jump on the social media, Twitter, Instagram. BenattonMusic.com is our website. You can find everything on there. 100%. And if you can find our personal pages, if you find that more intriguing, go right ahead. But thanks for listening. Hope to see you and hear. Well, we're not going to be able to hear them, but hopefully
we'll work on that.
We can bless your ears and your eyes in the future episodes. So
and keep doing what you love. This is Parlay and Jay of Benatton. We out.